Hey friends, Bran here. Just wanted to take a moment to address a very important aspect of this episode. Number one, Barry and I are not doctors. We're just two dudes who are incredibly passionate about this stuff and think it'll help a lot of the problems that we're seeing in society and in people and just in general. We are going to offer some ideas. It is very important for you to consult with a doctor and take the necessary steps before you make any super serious life-altering changes. Also, nutritionists are a great resource, and dietitians are also. They're kind of similar. But just wanted to cover that for, a CYA kind of thing. Cover your butt aspect. So have your salt handy, sprinkle it where necessary, and do the correct thing for yourself, starting with seeking actual professional help. So thanks for that. Let's get to it. All right, so let's carry on. Why do we think this is important, Barry? Wow, listen to the disdain in my voice.
I know, yeah. That really came out when you said my name, which is kind of weird. Usually you say, my master, holy one. But anyway, so... simply put, eating is such a large thing at fundamentally to our bodies and to our life, but also it is completely, a lifestyle. It's a culture. It's intertwined completely within our cultures. So eating well complements, everything from having the energy to work out, having the energy to do anything.
Yeah.
In relation to,
Well, it affects your energy levels to begin with.
Yes.
Because if you're eating
crab,
a bunch of dirty processed crab, your body isn't actually turning that into the nutrients it needs.
It's actually hurting.
Energy.
It actually is hurting organs in your body. Also, it's hurting your stomach acids.
That too. Yeah. I just watched a video about the gut microbiome and how you can do permanent damage.
Yes.
To that.
Most of us, if you're our age, we already have it, and there are things that you can do to try to help that. And there are, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but there are things you can do to try to help that. We can maybe address that later on.
We can get a little bit more detailed on that as especially as I learn a little bit more.
Yeah,
quite a bit more. But it
you can't help. You can't help it.
It affects so much. Your mental health, your energy. We all know that we need to sleep, but again, if you're eating bad food, your body doesn't know it's sleep regulation, circadian cycles get messed up just from bad food.
Yeah, it messes with everything, right?
And I've really started paying attention to that. So I'm trying to cover this up for the sake of it, but we had to record this in 2 parts. I don't know if it's coming out in 2 parts. But last week when we recorded, I had McDonald's.
Yep.
And what was it? Was that Thursday or Monday? It was Monday. I recognized that I didn't sleep well, and I thought back to I didn't sleep well these days either. Also,
the trade-off.
My waist side of things was not very good the day. Or whatever day.
Your body is amazing.
It was I think it was Thursday. I slept like crap.
Yep.
And I had diarrhea. And I'm all right, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
McDonald's. I'm done with the Doom Burgers. As Tim puts it.
Well, your body becomes when our body gets a taste of the healthy eating, right? Our stomach acid starts actually to readapt to that, to say this is good stuff, and everything else responds to that. And then when you put that stuff back into your body, even after a short time period, it really it's tough.
Yeah.
It's the silliest thing. It's the silliest thing. Now everyone has gas. There's no way we're gonna. But your gas can be cut down by 50% at least, depending on your diet.
Yeah.
The healthier your diet is, and you'll notice this, and that's just a good indicator of if you're on the right path to eating healthier and what your body's actually using versus what has to kick back out.
Yeah.
is how much you're burping or fart.
We've alluded to the car thing. I'm going to allude to it now, and I'll get into it a lot better here in a little bit because I actually had this really cool thought about it. is that how your engine is working. Like, if your engine's working properly, you should see no exhaust fumes out the back at all.
Right.
If some things get in there,
if you
start seeing white
water
smoke come out, or even black.
Yeah.
And that's an indication. That's a good indicator of what's going on inside.
Yes. Yeah. Anything like that. These are simple little. Hey, like so again, like to tie us around, like why we're trying to do this, why it's important, right? How many like here's a pill for you have heartburn. Here's a pill. This might tear up something else in your body, which they all do if you ever read about the research on them.
Oh God, I fucking hate medicines, man.
They hurt your white blood cell count is one of the worst. But anyway, so you don't.
I don't hate medicines.
Our dependency again. Like, we get that more
I'll
often, right?
that.
We'll talk about that, right? We've talked about that off air, where we're just. Well, we're still off air, but
that's some good thoughts on it this morning.
It's not that this is a bad thing. It's that when we have it and it's in abundance and then it's marketed to us, right? You have these, perfection of the triad attacking.
As we talked about with the FDA, there's all the connections with it and the desire to push it, and I mean, from the government to these companies to higher learning facilities, colleges, and they're trained to teach them to push this stuff.
There's a money trail. Unfortunately, it's tied to all that, and it ties all together nicely in a bow.
Big monkey fist did not. That.
Yeah, it's not. It's good.
Such a tight knot too that it probably can't be undone.
So again,
you're gonna have to just start hacking away at it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're doing, right? Like the simplest thing, really, the funniest thing is.
But
the way we're doing this is, you cannot. So a dragon, right? No man can face a dragon, or even like say something realistic, a lion. No man can face a lion by himself, but you can like set traps and pick it down and take it apart. So we're doing indirect approaches, and these are indirect approaches. You want to correct, and I don't know if anything that's broken can really be fixed, but if you want to be fixing something here we go. So we're gonna
for the sake of the metaphor, broken no, bent yes.
Yeah, there you go.
So to bring in one of my favorite things from C.S. Lewis. But on the medical stuff though, I mean because there are people who are working at the fringes of this system, if not outside of it.
Their hands are hands-on science, you mean, right? Like actual doing the studies and running the tests.
They're looking at the links between this and autism and epilepsy.
Yes, they're actually
ADHD and how not just these individuals' diets, but one of my other points here is back to pregnancy. What the mother eats has an effect on those things.
There's a lot. Well, there's so much.
And that's another thing you should feel like a bad parent.
No, and then, there's
if you made bad choices.
When you're trying to live and do your thing, you're trying to it's just there's so many metaphors I use right now.
It's a big, overwhelming system, and it's hard to do the right thing when one, you're not getting the right information. Two, this path directly in front of you looks easier and often seems easier because you're already on it.
Well, as people, we don't want to stand out, right? We want to be a part of our group, our crowd, our anything. It's hilarious how we want to identify with so many different things within our life, and that's fine. That's great. So again, it goes back to this saying that rarely can we change, or do we change, without any impactful, life-changing something X on us or somebody we love dearly, like just the most important person in your life besides yourself. And that's that's when things change. And so if there is no reason to feel guilt, there's a reason to say, okay, well, here's this information, or here I have these whispers or these doubts in my mind, and I see a lot of these things going on in my life right now. Let me look into it, and that's and we're here to be on this journey with you. Really, I mean, journey, whatever you want to use, whatever common word you can use right now. Because
insert favorite buzzword.
Yeah, insert. Thank you. For me, it's like it's me. It's falling down the tree. It's falling down the canopy of trees, and how many branches can I hit my head on That's what it takes for me to learn anything, honestly.
Yeah. So we've kind of bashed on this bad stuff. So
We will forever.
What can we do to make things better, Barry?
Well, the most. I mean, I don't know if it's enemy number one, right? Looking you right in the face. If you want to, before you can go on, it's like what can you do before you run? You walk. What can you do before you walk? Well, you crawl. So to me, and I will tell you this, just having to restructure almost everything in my life, and including my physical activities and how I can do things, is because I was a decent athlete when I was younger, as we all were when we were young. But eating, it's what can and then where are our wins with eating? What can we afford? Which again is almost a misnomer. But what can we afford? What can we enjoy? And and how can we get these all together, put together into a timely, so you're not spending, because we don't. Cooking, I have found, is very relaxing, and I think that if anyone does it with the right approach, they'll find that it is almost meditative. And anyone I've talked to, many people, I've read many times, I've heard many times, this is that's accurate. So if you make time for it, there you go. That's a good moment.
Right. So, but your journey for this all started with better education, right?
Well, yeah, forced or accidental. Better education.
You had to learn what was wrong.
Yes.
And then you had to learn what was right.
Yeah. What can we do for and the right and the wrong comes down to, again, our diet, right? Is that what you're looking at? Or
just getting better information for ourselves, learning like how this stuff works, like we're doing. The whole purpose of this podcast is to spread better information for people.
Yeah. So kind of break down walls as we learn them with you.
And that comes personally and publicly. Again, we hit on this earlier about the food pyramid and what BS that was, and some of the stuff I've been watching more recently, pointing out how, and listening to, I think it was actually Rhonda Patrick with Huberman talking about micronutrients and stuff, that a lot of these things are chosen arbitrarily. Like, they just decided one day we want to push more grains. And then there's some background stuff.
No, there's a lot. There's actually documentation that was released. Actually, I believe it was in the ones from '08. Thank you. One thing, President Obama, actually, he released a lot of classified documentation of this stuff. And I'm trying to remember, because I was listening to Professor Ludwig talk about this at the University of California, Berkeley. Which, if you want to look up nutrition, food, look up that, and you'll find a lot of actual, accurate, great information.
So, do you have links for that?
Yeah,
Can you get them?
Yeah, we'll get them.
Get those to me.
Sure.
That'll be down in the.
And I'm trying to remember who it was. There was a large organization, which we all know, and it's well known, but they actually omitted the data, and they fudged the data for.
Or just straight made it up.
Yeah, you fudged, yes, for the reasons of financial gain.
Well, I don't want to get into that too much more, because that's not where we're focusing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that's the way things.
That horse pretty.
Yeah, that's the way
not
things.
Dead yet,
yeah,
but
things happen that way, and often when you want to ask why, because people aren't evil, it's just things get in the way of what's right and wrong. Anyway.
Yeah. So, one, education, understanding what things are, how they affect your body in good and bad ways. Understanding your own budgetary restraints, that's part of the education process too. And what can you do? So if you cut something out of your diet and you're not buying that food anymore, now you have that money to spend on other things.
You cut out potato chips. We all love, and you will find out, people, that you are actually addicted to these habits. You are addicted to these foods. You are addicted to sensations and immediate feedback. And when you start cutting these things out, it won't be easy, but you need to understand a lot of them, your body will, and you will react the same way as any little small addiction. And I say that there is no small addiction, mind you, but that's the word I chose to use. So I also, every time Bran, was saying, like, we're cutting these things out, you need to find something that which you can substitute in there, something that's good for you.
Yeah.
And that's important. It's a very, very important as we start to learn about, what goes on and what harms and what moves us forward to just doing things a lot better.
But taking better control of this yourself by growing your own food, which,
How can we do that? There's a lot of ways. At the minimum, you can do microgreens, right?
Let's not just throw this out there like it's something that anybody can just start doing tomorrow, right? There's a lot of work that
there's
goes
a lot
into
of prep work, absolutely.
There's a lot of and depending on what you're wanting to do, can require a lot of space, and that's just not an option for some people,
right? But we can't that's a given, right? So
but like if you're a small family or an individual, you don't need to grow as much as you think you do.
Right.
And you can do that in a very small space. And sometimes you grow up like we did with skyscrapers instead of growing out.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of people in apartments. Factually, the way I started gardening, because I didn't know jack about gardening until last year, was I started following people who started gardening because of the epidemic.
Yeah.
Hilariously, in their own apartments, in suburbia or wherever else. And it really like, is it not to sound all crazy about, but it was pretty beautiful how people overcome, right? And a lot of people had never done it, so you do it and you mess up. You're gonna mess up a lot, probably, especially starting. And that's how you learn.
If you really want to do something, you'll find a way to do it.
Yeah, you just do it. You just do it. Don't worry about the prep work.
Go down the YouTube rabbit holes of this stuff. There's
a lot out there. I have tons of people we can reference on that too.
It's like I've got to do a balance of both. I've got a huge area for doing a garden.
Nice.
And we're talking like 30. What is it? I've got like 12 yards by like 3 yards. 4
so
yards.
Which is actually small, but it's large for us.
You can do a lot,
for your average
space.
Yeah, for your average person, we don't understand it.
I mean, because there's people that's their entire yard.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I'm with you.
I've still got a decent sized yard outside of that.
It is just
and for me personally, I've been trying to do a garden for
we talk about rainwater
over a decade and stuff, and it just I'm finally in a place where I really can. And this year, we're really starting to get on to it because of inflation and those things, but also because I want to take better control of our health and my household and.
Well, you want
do the correct thing.
That's such a great
for me
way to say it.
For my kids, I want them to know this and be on it.
Yep.
Like they're on this journey with me. I explain to them why we're doing things and how these things are bad for them.
Yeah, and they're gonna say like again, this is like you don't have to. You're not like this is you don't have to make your garden. Please don't interpret this as us saying this is your only source of food. This is a supplemental thing.
It's supplemental, and that's one of the other things. Like, if you don't have a lot of space, that I wanted to touch on is like just focus on the things that do cost the most.
Get your wins in there,
or the things you're going to use most frequently, or whatever.
Yeah, and in the city, like there's a list of foods that you can grow that grow the best in the home that you can get. That's your bang for a buck, right? For size versus nutrients. And the reason I say nutrients is that the higher density of nutrients you have and get into your body, the less food you need, which is part of the whole. This is part of the big structure system we're dealing with right now, with our.
Well, we've got a lot of carb-based items.
Yeah, because it's cheap and bad for you.
Because
it keeps you in a bad spot.
Number one, it's cheap. It's easy to produce.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, well, I would just say, but number two is keeps you okay on those needs. You need some pillows because something went wrong with you. Just
also with the gardening, like recording this right now, we're getting to the end of the planting season.
Yeah.
But if you are catching this and you're out of season, June. This is a great time to start doing the prep work.
I planted late June last year and had amazing crops for first time, dude. Like, we're in zone 5B, by the way. So we're in the Midwest, and it's more arid and hot summer. So look up if you want to look up just for tips. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but just look up what gardening zone you're in, and you can look even to adapt. What type of what type of plants can I garden? What type of vegetables can I plant?
Easiest to grow in your area.
Yep. Yep. And what
when to plant them.
And how, and if you want like the commons like tomatoes, you can figure out how to circumvent problems that you might run into, and that's great, especially if you're dealing with space. And you can do heat lamps. You can do different things. If you can't buy so much tomatoes or soil on this, well, you take that, invest in a heat lamp, other things to help your vegetables.
Also, if you're starting out a season, it's a great time to start getting your plans together.
Yep.
Figure out what space you have, what you need to build. Start building. It's a lot easier to and it's all relatively going to cost the same in the end, but if you break it up over each paycheck and build a box each paycheck or whatever, that you're seeing a lot less of a hit. And you can plan it better.
Do you do any like no dig gardening or anything like that?
We're doing raised beds.
Okay. Yeah, I did both. Well, actually last year I did raised beds. This year I've done on top of like what I already had out there. I did virtually minimal dig gardening, unless I'm seeing how it's going.
But it's also that time factor too, because if you're rushing like that was our problem. We were rushing to get a bunch done at once, and I had to spend $200 on tools and supplies and stuff.
The better prepared you are, the cheaper it's going to cost.
I had to find an hour versus if you're able to spread that out, it's easier to find 10 minutes a week than it is an hour.
Yep. The best. I don't know how much we're going to get
into the gardening
thing, but I mean, there's
I'm almost done with it.
Well, there's a lot of people that you can look up online. You can look up on YouTube. You can look up podcasts.
Grow Veg is one that we're kind of on right now. It just popped up and we're going with it. But he's got good information.
Yeah, there's a couple of funny guys across the pond I listen to.
He's British, so like you definitely got to be aware of your own environment. But a lot of the information is still applicable.
Yeah, it is exactly
in general.
And you can always, and especially if you're trying to learn how to adapt soil, those guys also.
But the other part of starting out a season is a good time to get your compost going.
Yes, compost is an awesome thing.
And then you're starting your season off. You've got all your supplies ready, and you've got good dirt to start with.
Yeah.
We got lucky, and whoever lived there before us had a compost before.
No kidding.
It's probably pretty old now, but it's still better dirt than just dirt.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. That is great
old.
soil.
It's been rained on and shit. So
well, no, but like the more
some of the stuff's leaked out of it.
Yeah, there yes and no. There is nature is taking its effect on it. Right? Like that's the whole idea of compost is a compact. Anyway.
Next thing we can do. Wash what you have to buy. Wash. Just because there's chemicals and fertilizers.
I was going to say the chemicals and fertilizers is why we wash things.
Even if you're buying stuff that says it's not, if it's close to a field that
this is
you could get spray over or whatever.
Yeah. This is going to overlap.
Art of Manliness had a chef on. He was talking about a lot of people get sick from their vegetation because we don't think about it as much as we do, like meat and stuff, like contamination from these foods. Because not that the vegetation itself is getting you sick, but animals tracking through, getting it dirty with their waste material, their waste matters, or bringing chemicals from other places, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I can say I can because chemicals drift, right? Like they drift in water, they drift in water supplies, water. A lot of that. I can imagine in some extreme cases that can definitely happen. There is while we're on it, I know we've probably talked about it in previous recording last week, but there's a good time to talk about Clean 15.
Yeah.
And Dirty Dozen.
And that's on my notes here.
Yep. And that's always, you go off of that. If you're
what are those, Barry? What's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15?
Oh, it changes annually, but I forgot. Oh, you mean like
just a
they're
elevator pitching.
Yeah, they're the Dirty Dozen's the ones that essentially FDA and everybody has said that these are just fine, nasty chemicals to spray on everything, and use whatever antibiotics to put onto our foods, and the Clean 15 are the ones that don't use them no matter what, no matter what's deemed clean, because they know it's still not. Right?
So this is
the research has deemed that the actual research is
a standalone entity,
a third party
looks at
yes.
The majority or groups of vegetation and fruits.
Yeah, they do multiple studies across, especially the southern hemisphere.
They look at what what fertilizers and pesticides and insecticides and stuff. There's
all the sides and all the antibiotics that they've that we spray on there to make things quote unquote safe.
Yeah,
and better. Most of them. Well, we can get to that later on, but yeah, those are mostly on there just for shelf life. Now, does it size or
get into
some
brands specifically, or
I don't believe so, because usually,
or is it just a general crop?
Usually, is a crop like it's like banana, strawberry, bell peppers. These aren't being used this way. These aren't being sprayed this way.
And that's updated how frequently?
It's annual.
Okay, and I wonder. Where are bananas at on there right now? Because we've been...
What's that? We can look right now.
We've been getting a bunch of bad bananas lately, which is weird. Anyways, while he's doing that, and we're on our side note, I'm surprised we didn't really talk about this earlier, but drink more water.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
It's such an obvious thing. That's probably why we didn't bring it up. But
not to exactly. Yeah, it's kind of silly. I know people that actually just drink water alone. I call them sickos, but
doesn't have to be drink only water. Although there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But if you're in a place where it's difficult for you to drink your tea, pop, whatever it is with your meals, and in your downtime, drink more water there. Because that'll get it into your system. It'll get it into your system more. Because I know that's where a lot of people have struggled, right?
Well,
is while you're eating, we're accustomed to eating or drinking things that taste good also.
Yeah, it's a complementary. It's a whole lifestyle that we have of complement this meal with whatever we can. It actually that hurts our stomach acid and our digestive system, if I'm going to throw that on there also. So if you can drink it before the meal, it's actually better for you.
Water? Yes. Or just in general?
Just in general. Water, if we're just going to talk, strictly water. If you want to sip on it, something small. That's why actually wine is funny. Like they say, wine's good for you. Now it does have benefits, more or less. But most people sip on wine when they're having it with dinner. So that's actually
funny because that's what I started doing a while ago.
Yeah, it's actually very. It's actually
not even a full glass, like just a few ounces.
Yeah. I don't know if I can say it's beneficial to the digestive system.
I know
a lot of what happens is. Because the less sugar we can have with, our meals, the better, because it really counteracts and inhibits and hurts the enzymes and the good bacteria within our stomach and our stomach bile and our stomach acid, which, as you get closer to 40, goes down more and more every year. It's an issue. It's actually issue. That's why people, like, the older you are, especially with our culture nowadays, people are popping pills for, an acid in your 20s, but didn't used to always be like that. But nowadays, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's one reason why.
So I don't remember if I got into this on the recording or not, but the cost thing. I think even though that's more of a financial thing than a nutritional thing, I think it's important to talk about it real quick, because a lot of times we'll trick ourselves into spending more by looking at the cost directly in front of us. Oh, this box of Twinkies only costs $1.50, and
I love Twinkies so much.
I'm a psychopath. I hate Twinkies.
I mean, well, you're a sick son of a bitch. You are a. You know what? This is over.
But, the box of Twinkies or a loaf of bread or the canned pastas or whatever. Those look like they're cheap because it's like less than $1 than a can. It's a couple bucks for a loaf of bread. But if you actually stop and look at how frequently you replace those things,
Yeah.
if you have to buy 2 loaves of bread in a week, is that really cheaper than buying a bag of apples? Or, our main suggestion right now, my main suggestion right now is cabbage.
That's actually that's in line with a lot of what nutritionists and people say, is because cabbage can be used solely I believe cabbage is so hardy and sturdy, not to mention nutritious, that it can support. You can plate hamburgers. That is my replacement for hamburgers when I'm going clean. Mm-hmm. Right? If I have a bad weekend, and I might cheat because Bran took me out. Bran, the guys took me out because they're jerks, and made me drink. But I will. That's a good go-to. Now you can, put you don't want to get your hamburger. You don't want to be the bun, right? Like the main thing of the hamburger is not the bun, right, people?
Yeah.
It's the cheese, the condiments,
the
and the
meat
burger.
and the veg.
Yeah, so and I hate it. It was the mental aspect of getting over. Well, you just, I don't want a veggie burger or shit like that. You know what? You'll get over yourself. you will. Like there's no. This is better. You don't want something that's just completely just not good carbs. You can make buns that are good for you and stuff, but the ones you're buying at the store, they're not those.
Yeah, but it back to the cost thing is there are things that you can do to offset that, but also if you're eating this more nutrient rich food, as Barry said earlier, you are going to feel less of a need to eat more.
Yeah.
Another thing I heard earlier, touch back on the water thing, is that sometimes when we think we're hungry, we're dehydrated and we just need water.
That's it. Yeah, that's something that I heard. Dr. Ludwig talked about that in his one of his many pressers.
I don't think it was the video I sent you about sugars. I think it was TED Talk video about
I think it was
reversing type 2 diabetes.
Yes. Or maybe not. I don't know.
I didn't send you that one. I sent you the one on sugars.
I might have watched that one afterward because it just goes. Right, it just goes. Yeah. So,
but she talked.
I'll just work out.
One of those 2 videos talked about when we think we're hungry, we're actually dehydrated. Yes. We need to drink water.
Yes.
But also, water kind of fills you up a little bit too. So
yeah, it is.
It can keep you going a little bit longer without that actual solid food snack.
Yeah,
and kind of like a mini fast.
And again, to try to tie this down, and that's what a lot of it is for me. I have to relate things to something tangible, and try to make things why does this work? Because we're not just we're dummies here again, learning with you, and
only Barry's a dummy.
Yeah, that's very true. Brand's actually quite smart. So
I'm the smartest man in the world.
He's a smart one. Thank God we have at least one of them here.
I'm not.
It's controversial enough as it is, but
jokey.
But again, to tie it down, our ancestors, be it whoever and whatever you're from, for thousands of years, millions of years, ate like this, versus the last 300, if you want to go that long, for us.
That you can go back 1,000.
I mean, yeah, you can go back
to 1,000 or more because
you
did have a lot of bread and potatoes being eaten.
There are times of period, but still
as we started becoming more civilized,
especially in the last 50 years,
and we started developing more classes.
The point is, yes, yeah, absolutely,
because some things were easier to do on your own and they were cheap because there were a lot of things that we take for granted, grapes. Vanilla.
Grapes are amazing.
What else? Vanilla is a spice, but whatever.
Grapes.
Yeah. Bananas.
Pineapples.
Meat.
Corns.
Well, pineapples are still kind of, unless you're buying it canned or something, pineapples are still a little, at least I think. I've never actually looked.
Depends on where, I guess depends on where you live, maybe.
The point is, a lot of these things we take for granted is cheap now. Only the richest of the rich would eat. The pineapple example and bananas.
Yeah.
People didn't buy these to eat them.
Well, they
bought them to set on their fire mantle. They would buy a single banana and be like, look, I bought this banana. Look how rich I am.
Yeah. No, and that's even,
that was the Middle Ages. That was
today. There's places that can't, that people don't afford this, which is, we go into, that'd be a fun episode to actually, because there's a gentleman I follow that is breaking down a lot of misnomers about how he's from Thailand and how you can make just life better and more abundant, contrary to what the system says over there for him at least. And it's amazing. But here we go. We got the clean 15 if you want to just wash over because it does change. This kind of sucks. I'm gonna see the 15 right now. I can do the dirty dozen later on, or when we're going on.
Well, we can just link to it.
Yeah, let's
you and I talk about that.
Yeah, because you know what the second one is. This is funny. The second one is sweet corn.
Anyway, so what are two things you really want to focus your energy on right now, Barry?
Pertaining,
you've got the moment
food?
right now. As far as nutrition goes, we're right here, Barry, in the notes.
I'm with you, man.
So, what are your 2 points of
I
focus?
really think it comes down to, for me, because I've been there pretty hard. For me, it really matters, and I know we've already talked about this, but it matters of where you can get your wins. So, I loved chips and ice cream.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with nothing wrong with
To
either.
touch back on
Yeah.
making things better. If you still love chips, make your own.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not easy, but trust me. But if you in the meantime, there are things you can get, besides chips. There are tons. I would say seeds. One of the best ones is actually good for your stomach and your digestive system. And Bran knows this is how I usually have a big old bag around somewhere. But pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds.
Yeah, and you can even salt them yourselves. I recommend unsalted, as organic as you can find.
Well, and I mean this is only going to last for a while, but Halloween.
But you can, you can salt your own as well. I was going to say you can definitely salt
to get your own pumpkin seeds.
Yes,
because you've got the pumpkin already.
You're already pumpkin
them out instead of throwing them away. Wash it up.
Filter them out. Yeah,
they're actually pretty easy to
sift them
roast
out.
And
yes. And right now, you can easily barbecue. You can roast them on a barbecue pit right now. Save some energy. Also,
anyways,
thinking there. So yeah, that to me, because I'm always going to go. How can I get my wins in? Because it's a constant battle over time. The exchange, right? Where I'm putting my food, my money, my time in, and what food am I putting into my body. So, what can I hit on that will satisfy me and my mental cravings, and keep me in the straight and narrow versus going just crazy. I will go through an easy 3 bags of whatever you say. Yeah. Easy, just sitting there, just shoving it into my mouth.
Like one of my first steps was, even though it's a small bag, not eating the entire bag of potato chips.
Yeah, I've been there.
Just eating like half of it.
Yeah, exactly. That is good for me. In my experience, and just also reading testimonies from people in general that cold turkey really is the best way. I don't want to say that's for everybody because people will come back.
Turkey can be hard though.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, it's always hard relatively, but yeah, I think if you're about it and then you say, okay, this is what I want to do, bam. Now you may fall off. You may fall off.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
You can
fall
always
off,
get back on.
Get the F back on, and get after it. Don't worry.
Beat yourself up
don't cry about it. Yeah, don't cry about it.
Because everybody falls off.
Yeah, trust me. Bran will come over.
Bran
will come over and
cake in front of me right now.
Yeah, right. He'll come over. I'll have like 6 stacks of Oreo boxes, and those were ate in one day, people. No problem.
I used to like Oreos, but I don't
yeah,
know
they
if
are
it's being
gross.
Cleaner or what?
It does.
But
you don't crave them.
I've gotten out of.
So what happens for me is I will have some I'll go out with you guys, or I'll go out with somebody, right? And I'll have something that kind of leans towards that in the flavor and the structure, and also more carby. Now, not the worst thing, but it'll set that off. And this is why I start easy dominoes. So it's such a slippery slope. The dominoes fall so easily on this path, and this is one reason I say, you want to go cold turkey. So yeah, especially once you are actually off these things, once you make it past a month and then 2 months, you can taste the chemicals in these things. I can taste the chemical in chips.
Done with pop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every once in a while.
Even the Sierra Mist, I think I told you one time.
Yeah.
Like Sierra Mist was okay because the flavors were close enough. But last time I had it, I was like, the
Coke
only thing I can still do is Dr. Pepper.
Oh wow, really? That's like one of the worst ones you can still.
I don't know what it is, but like
That's funny.
Pepsi used to be my go-to drink.
Maybe it's the cinnamon.
Maybe.
Because like cinnamon's actually very good for us. Just straight ground up plain cinnamon. But anyway, back to my wins. So
on the wins though, like find areas to have little ones. Like you said, going out for dinners.
Yeah, man.
You don't have to get this big juicy.
Well, watch the carb.
McDonald's hamburger.
Watch it. Well, yeah, watch it. If you go
they
out
have
to
salad, and it's still not necessarily the best, but it's better than the hamburger.
You can, and most, especially in larger cities, right? You know, even rural. But most places nowadays are getting used to people asking without the bun.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. It is weird.
Which is, it's funny for me because I worked at Burger King when the Atkins diet thing was really taking off.
I never even did it. You know, I did
well, because like it was called the Atkins diet.
Yeah.
But it's a keto diet. Mm-hmm. Or it's a form of the keto.
It's a spin-off, yeah. It's a derivative, yeah.
So, but like it's one of those things where like this is just a fad diet. You know,
I don't think the keto diet was really, I don't think it was actually even called the keto diet back then, because the reason it's called keto diet is because ketosis became a more well-known, scientifically proven and understood.
Because ketones are a hormone, right?
Yeah, ketones are a protein hormone in the body. You know, they're fat-based, which are cleaner to burn. But we can get into that later on, and maybe
that kind of deserves its own episode.
Yeah, because like I'm not an expert on it. I'm very well. You know, I'm experienced in it, but it's something I would say, if you're into it, good, do it, and then, you know, for the healthiest, optimal diet, I'd say, do your thing, do your clean eating. Then if it's a great thing if you are. In a lot of ways, we'll get into it. I don't want to. There's a lot to get into.
So,
but okay, so
find your wins.
Find your wins. Honestly, you know, it is a time management thing. It is a mental management thing. That really is the biggest thing I want to say. As far as, you know, 2 points. Find your wins where you can get them. And
create your wins, not just find them, but create wins.
Yes, and that is absolutely.
Even if you
that's absolutely.
Bake your own cookies.
Well, I've done that. You know what? That's one thing that's great about YouTube and the social media. That is a great aspect of YouTube and social media, especially because 4 years when I was doing this, it was blowing up. The keto diet was blowing up, and it was just a hilarious thing that I just.
There were people that were using it as a fad thing, and then there were people who were actually scientific about it.
And there are people that you can find you can find people from India, because it's closer to their culture, that can throw it out at you like it's nothing. Here's a cookie that we make daily. You know, Headbanger's Ball. You know, shout out to him, because he's a great dude that is into American metal. He can really rip it, and he has a great. He is quite learned up on the keto diets. The foods, especially, you know, the science side of it. Not everyone has to understand every minute detail, but as far as the food, which is macros and of what you're getting for your sugars and your carbs and your grams, people can know. People can, you know, you can see it and you can read it, and what's going to keep you in ketosis and not. And they're out there. You know, look it up. You can find cookies. I mean, I made to prove to my buddy. Last winter, I made a chocolate mousse cake, no dairy, no sugar, and it was, you know, I will be insanely critical of myself if I don't do good. Yeah. And it was awesome. And it's not a hard thing to do, honestly. I think a lot of people who bake probably would say, well, yeah, it's probably pretty doable. So yeah, you know, I would, you know, look at things. Look up things that you want to find. You want to find some sweets? Look up some wins out there on YouTube or wherever else you want to find it.
Yeah, that's like one of the things I'm trying to do for my sweet.
A chocolate mug cake
thing.
Mug cake is very easy to do, and it's a microwaved 130.
But one of the things I'm trying to focus on now for my sweet desire, because the one girl has candy all the time, and I got really bad.
Good luck, man.
Even though I did really good for a while, I fell off hard. Yeah, and happens. I was eating like 10 freaking Hershey's Kisses.
Jujubes. Oh man, you know, let me think here.
But
Three Musketeers, man, I could down a box of those. Good to go.
I've got some root beer barrel drop things. They're the old-fashioned brand that you get at Hobby Lobby.
I need to try to make some root beer this year.
So what I'm doing with those, because it's like 5 per serving. I only have one at a time, and that's what I'm trying to use to satiate my sweet craving.
Interesting.
Because it's sugar.
Are you going to?
But
That's
it's not
fine.
a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of sugar.
I would always recommend, like, if you can find them at a reasonable deal, you will find, like, because companies right now are trying to
peppermints too.
Yeah, that
Peppermints are good.
But you can make these. You can buy your own peppermint drops. Your own, and you can do this stuff. You can make chocolate peppermint cookies pretty easy. Not these.
Got a lot of really good.
Yeah,
peppermint's one of those things that if you are feeling hungry, you can have a peppermint, and it'll kind of take that away a little bit.
What, you talking about a leaf, or you talking about the candy?
The candy.
Yeah, that's true. But
it is. But
yeah,
peppermint's really good for dealing with the upset stomach and nausea and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's peppermint in general. Just period. Yeah, for sure. But back to what you were saying, like, if you are going to go sugar, right now. Luckily, I mean, gosh, this is like, year 5, 4, 6, depending on when you found the clean eating, craze or, popularity where we're at right now, whatever year you're into. There are companies that are cashing in on this, and good on them for doing it. So you can find organic this or that. Read the back of it. It's not hard. It shouldn't have too many fructose or sucrose. You don't want those. On the average, if you want something, you want cane sugar. You don't want corn syrup.
No, corn syrup's bad.
Yep. So those
Even
three.
Though it comes from corn, it's bad.
Trust me, we can do a special on that. I guess we can get into
Which
that.
is just part of the reason why I want to do corn, because
we'll talk about that off. We can't. Maybe yes. I'm still maybe that, and then one that I'm thinking about. But
okay.
Anyway, so yeah, so. Find something. They usually are more expensive because it costs more to make, so it's healthier for you.
Well,
Surprise.
not just that, but you have to pay the FDA for them to look into your product and make sure that you follow their guidelines. And you got to pay for the special labeling and all that stuff, which is part of the reason why this stuff is so expensive.
It's more expensive to make.
Because even though realistically this stuff should be cheaper in a lot of ways to produce, because it is organic, you're not using these nasty fertilizers and stuff.
Well, you should get like a health tax or a health benefit, right? Huh? Obamacare?
Like insurance.
Yeah, you should.
Insurance is due for a lot of works.
You would think so, but that's canty. Canty. That's
right. So you get 2 points.
Yeah, man. So yeah, like those are them. Those are that.
So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this car analogy, and that.
Oh boy.
We say that
Vroom.
Food is your fuel, right? And that's not necessarily wrong, and that's kind of where the tie-in with the car comes into. But if you look at a car, yes, what you put into your car affects how it runs. What you put into your body affects how you run. But we're just talking about gas, which is only a small part of how the car functions. And if you really want to have a better understanding, this is what I think is really cool. If you want to have a much better understanding about this, you have to go back to the crude oil, right? Because we pull it out, you got to send it to a refinery, and it breaks it down into all these parts that still go in the car. Your oil, your transmission fluid, all various different types of lubricants. Plastics are made out of petroleum byproducts. Your fuel, gasoline or diesel, whichever it is. All these things go in and help the car function and run more efficiently. Your body does that too. Your body is actually more like a car with a built-in refinery. So you consume the food, it gets broken down in your stomach, goes in your bloodstream and wherever else it needs to, and then it gets distributed through the body too. We talked a little bit about mental health, and how these things affect that. Your sleep,
and that's
your energy, energy down to a microcosmic level. I forget what the fuck they're called. I always want to call them midichlorians, but they're not. Mitochondria?
Yes.
In your muscles? Like that comes from your food. And that's where a lot of our action, well, not necessarily a lot of our action, but that's where some of our energy comes from. There's all these things, how aggressive you are can be impacted by the types of food you eat. Yeah, And that all happens in your stomach. Your stomach is your refinery, and
your stomach
kind of like the DeLorean in Back to the Future too.
Well, it has the
where he just throws it in, and the car breaks it down however it needs to function.
It's hilarious nowadays if you think about it.
The other thing too is nutrition regulation is a lot more than just what you eat. It's when you eat, also.
Yeah.
Fasting. I know fasting has become a big thing, and there's a lot of people out there that have, just like keto, turned it into a type of fad.
Yeah, well, they're the fad, but it is.
But it's not an actual diet.
No, it's a.
What do I got here?
It's something you want to use to complement. It's a lifestyle complement.
And Mark Mattson, Dr. Mark Mattson, he was on Found My Fitness, and this one will be in the show notes, episode 66, talking about it. And this is a quote directly from him there. Is that intermittent fasting is not a diet, it's an eating pattern that includes intermittent periods of not eating sufficient enough to deplete glucose stores in the liver and cause a switch to use up fat cells and ketones produced from those fat cells. And it takes approximately 10 hours for the liver to clear out and for to start using up those fat cells.
Well,
that's
10 hours
taken from
10 hours is when your body actually can engage it, right? It's really, for a fast, is 24 hours. It's pretty well known. 10 hours, like for those who want to do a diet every day, like a fast or every other day or something like that.
There's benefits to it.
There is benefits to it.
Yeah, and there are different types of intermittent fasting. Some of it is a day or a period of days where you're not eating. Some of it is the periods of hours, giving yourself that minimum 10-hour period to start.
And it does, and there are elements which we place on ourselves and our bodies which can improve and hurt the fast. Stress, heat, body temperature, the surrounding your temperature surrounding you, your environment. These things all can affect your fast and how your body responds to a fast also. Fasting in the heat, like summer fasting, is actually very, very healthy for you. And this goes back to, again, how our ancestors lived, right? Well, lots of long hunts.
Being on that, like, we're not used to having this kind of abundance of
exactly.
food.
That's why.
So our bodies, over millions of years again, are designed to not eat all the time.
Exactly. That is exactly true. And that's why fasting is so good. Like that, and not only is our ketones more efficient, again, which goes back to hunting, gathering type, era, our ancestry, but it all interconnects. One thing leads to another, where the fast helps you clean out not only your organs and your stomach, which is crazy because like most of us often, the average person probably doesn't know what it's like to actually have an empty stomach in the States.
No.
Because it takes so long for things to digest, and that's why that's when you get that's when we actually damage our kidney and our gallbladder. Is we keep on loading them up, and
we're flooding it with stuff, and it never gets a chance to clear itself out. It's supposed to.
Exactly.
And then we throw in a bunch of alcohol in there.
There's other stuff. There's more. Yeah, there's more things on not just alcohol. Alcohol is just like it's just part of the domino where many things just add up to one problem after another, and think for yourself, because the system will tell you it's this, and it's not always just this. It is this plus something else. Well, most average.
That diabetes TED Talk, the title of it is reversing type 2 diabetes by not following the guidelines.
Exactly. And that's we have we're really lucky because in many aspects to live when we do. Because the information that we have is out there, and if you want to say, okay, I'm fine listening and just going with it, you'll get that lifestyle.
Yeah, we're not saying that you have to go out and do all this deep research yourself. You can do some basic research.
You can, out and it'll. I think on the average, most of our listeners, if not all, will engage in that. I think some will start small, but the funny thing is that health is important to humans just as an underlying current, I believe. And so the rabbit hole will pull people in as it did me, and I didn't mean to.
I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
I mean, rule number 3 is treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping.
Yeah.
Because like we look at our animals, the vast majority of people might be 200 pounds overweight themselves, but their dog is exactly right where they're supposed to be.
Well, I mean, a lot of animals these days are
that's kind of
often,
extreme, but
yeah. So a lot of animals actually, the way we project onto what we have, right? And so people project onto their animals also.
Well, the point is though that like most people take better care of their animals than they do themselves.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to try to want to take care of other people more than we take care of ourselves, and that's. We got to start thinking of ourselves too. There's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, and
it's the most basic. You know, like airliners, like, you know, like help yourself before you can't help, because it's true. Like, so the most basic thing that I boil when I'm like in some spot. On the average, most people won't have to perform a physically taxing task to help somebody else or someone they love in a situation of peril. Mm-hmm. But if the situation occurred, would I rather be able to help somebody, or at least say I won't die right away if I can do this? Like, you know, carrying somebody out of a ditch if a car rolls over, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's not the most insane task or example you can think of, but it's not easy also. It is extremely hard. Most people can't carry, or, you know, what if the car's on fire and burning?
And
you have to be able to move at a good pace. You know,
I think what you're getting to here, and maybe I missed this because I spaced for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Is that, you know, you can't really truly help other people if you're not helping yourself first.
Well, yeah, you have to be able to be able.
You can't care for other people if you can't care for yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of cliche and whatever. Shut up.
Well, it is cliche, but there's a reason why, right?
Like, it means something. It really, truly does. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. Like, I'm changing myself, and I want to help other people understand that needs to be done. Not necessarily teach them, because... Right,
yeah. You know, like, again, I was not the guy that wanted to skiff by on health. I wanted to be, okay, you know, I'm semi-athletic. I can work out every here and there, and I'll be good to go. And I paid for it pretty hard, almost worse than I had to. But
me growing up, I was 25 before I broke 145 pounds.
Jesus.
So I had this mentality of, dude, I looked so bad though.
Well, yeah.
Like, looking back, I thought I was okay, but like, God, I looked terrible.
Yeah. Was that
I looked like a crackhead?
Okay. Was it just like a lot of lifestyle?
I was just 145 pounds.
You just couldn't gain weight?
Yeah.
Okay.
For that period of time, I couldn't. And then I hit 25, and I wasn't doing a whole lot, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I weighed 215 pounds. And, like, I'm not huge by any means. A lot of that is still muscle weight, but it's really not bad.
I think
I just really didn't want to be fat when I was young.
Right, but a lot of it was so. How much? Because like you got into the military, right? Mm-hmm. How old were you?
21.
Okay, but that was like the first time you actually. That was pretty. Was it strenuous working out?
I didn't work out a lot then either.
Okay.
Like,
because usually that's when there's a correlation between.
Because like it was that ego thing. I'm 145. I can't do anything. I'm gonna be this forever.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I've been there in a certain way. Yeah.
That youth.
Definitely the youth. Well, it's youth ignorance. But there is an ego associated with it. You know, I'm like, you know, I'm bulletproof. Like, you know, but that's just the magnificence of the human body. Like, the human body, we beat the hell out of especially our internal organs. The more you learn about diets and, like, you know, what we do to our guts, and for me to recover to where I'm at right now is amazing to me. And especially, you know, just based off of what was becoming old science, but common science, where if this is damaged, you have to cut it out of you, which is, not true.
Not necessarily, no.
Right. They're you can heal. We can get to that later on. There's that's what clean eating actually helps, right?
Yeah. So changing what you eat and eating the correct foods can change your mood, energy levels, help you focus better, and tons of other things. It's not just
energy. Again, it's for me, it's again, where can you get the win? Not everyone has tons of time, but if you can maintain, you try to win somewhere, and so you don't have a lot of time to make a lot of food. All right, well, make what you can. And just keep on building off of that until you got a system in place.
There some lunch meat on a cabbage leaf.
Exactly, yeah. And guess what? There's a saying from doctors. I can't remember the main guy, but he got it from his professors when he was in school. But if you are in the woods and you're lost and you don't know what the F to eat, guess what? The healthiest thing you can do is eat nothing. Again, because your body goes into a cycle, a system. And the more we learn, talk about fasting. There's a lot of science to that, and it's very fascinating what it can do and how your body kicks up.
Yeah. And again, it's not just a physical thing. It affects your mood, your attitude.
Yeah, and it is scientific. It is what happens from your
focus.
Blood. Yeah, it's everything, the way our bodies are built. So again, just to end that, it's if you are trying to get a win and don't have much time, something small and simple, and keep building off that.
Handful of nuts.
There you go. You like those.
But those changes that I just talked about too don't have to be big. Start substituting cabbage in. Cabbage is cheap.
Did you say all you wanted about cabbage today?
Well, cabbage is going to be its own separate thing.
Oh, okay. Right.
So
screw cabbage today.
We'll talk about that in a moment. I think we talked about it a little bit before too.
Yeah,
but,
we did.
We will reiterate at the end here.
That's fine.
But and start fitting water in more frequently. I mean, just cutting out pop. If you can do that, even just down to 1 can will make huge changes.
Again, find a substitute
in your body,
right? If you can, I know most people's go-to is coffee. Tea works too, also. We can get into different things. Of course, tea's not keto, but that's one of the things that doesn't matter. But in the overall picture, but there are different things you can. Iced tea, awesome. Iced coffee, good to go. But you also got be careful what you're putting into it.
Yeah.
The most basic simple thing I can think of offhand: coconut milk with whatever. There are other things.
Want to do tea? Just as an aside, we're getting into bulk tea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot cheaper. You can also find places where it's actually truly organic and doesn't have as much of the chemical crap.
Exactly. Yeah. You can. Because in
even
dark tea,
anything that you buy in a bag,
yes,
is gonna have
your
chemical shit in it.
Your common. So how do you know if you have a doubt about? I don't know what's chemical and what's not. I just don't have the time to read this because my kid's doing whatever. If it's a name brand, chances are chemical. So if you see something that's kind of off and it even says organic, just look for that little. There's a little sticker. It's not a sticker anymore, but it's a little organic label. FDA, I believe, organic crap, even though there's so.
Well, but I mean, even so, there only have to be below a certain percentage. Yes. So
and darker teas are more healthy.
If it's 10%, they might be at 9%.
Right.
9% is still a lot in most cases.
Yes.
So, but bulk tea is considerably cheaper too.
Yes.
Considerably. We got a freaking pound bag for $20.
Nice.
Of lavender and chamomile.
Oh, heck yeah.
And the sleepy time tea was fine enough on its own. This stuff is putting it to shame.
That's awesome. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. That's almost something we should do a thing on ourselves because teas, you can do so much with tea and you can make your own tea.
But also kind of on this with the spending, I didn't say this earlier either, but as you're substituting things, you're also going to, you're reallocating that money.
Yes.
So the effectiveness is not like you're buying Twinkies and buying cabbage and buying noodles no. Instead of buying the noodles, buy the cabbage. Instead of buying Twinkies, buy fruit.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it in comparison to a more expensive, healthier, sweet snack. a lot of these foods are more expensive, just off the rack. But again, there are ways you beat that system. The small gardening, making your own teas. Different ways you can find a way to financially, for your own peace of mind, almost is really what it is, to make that win.
Yeah, and grow as much of your own food as you can.
Yep.
Not only are you eating better, but the more people we can get to start doing these things, the more these companies are going to have to change, and hopefully for the better.
Yeah,
it doesn't always go better.
That's big game.
Sometimes they go authoritarian.
Yeah, that's big game. That's honestly that's what we're looking at, right? And honestly, shoot, I had a point I just forgot. But good enough. Oh, I was gonna say, we talked about almost just my final point I want to say is the overlapping, where our physical mood, our moods are, our health is, to where we're eating, and then our production of how we can actually handle everything. The circles all intertwine. People see those diagrams all the time, where all the three circles.
The Venn diagram.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and last thing to wrap this up is that this is just such an underrated aspect of our health. If you go to your doctor and be like, you need to eat less red meat, blah, blah, blah. Like, they talk about eating healthy, but most of them don't actually know what they're truly talking about.
Well, they're not taught that. It's not that they don't.
Because they're regurgitating the crap that they learned in med school.
And it's not research. The science was pushed away. I'm sorry. But yeah, it was. And that's honestly, that's, take it where you can. But again, due to my eating habits and my lifestyle, I was going to the doctor to pop antibiotics on myself every cold season, every flu. I was always in there getting antibiotics.
Can we hit on antibiotics real quick?
Oh yeah.
Because the antibiotics that you're getting from the doctors, if I'm remembering this correctly, is kind of like putting rubbing alcohol, isopropanol alcohol, on a wound. Yes, it's going to kill the bad stuff, but it's also going to kill the good stuff. Yes, that's versus hydrogen peroxide, which is mostly going to kill the bad stuff, but it's going to let the good stuff do its job.
Yep, and that is such a.
Garlic has a lot of antibiotic properties.
Yes,
but it's not going to kill the good stuff. It's actually going to help the good stuff.
Two superfoods, if I want to just always tout things that I love and almost try to include in every meal, which is crazy, but I truly do, is jalapeno peppers and garlic. And then if I can, avocados are me. But those are, there's a war of finding good.
I need to figure out a way to work avocados in more, but those get pricey quick.
They get pricey fast, and that's a war. Like the extra money you have, there you go.
Well, it's a lot of that's due to the import nature of them, because they mostly come from South America.
Yep, and there's
because they require that climate to grow.
That climate and they are finicky. Like people have tried grafting, which have semi-succeeded, but still.
Yeah, I was going to try to grow avocado here, and
we don't
need to.
Yeah,
that can be.
That's a whole.
Stupid. Anyways, there's going to be a list of stuff that podcasts and videos and podcast episodes or whatever down in the notes below.
Nice little help list.
A lot of this stuff is not going to be stuff that we necessarily talked about.
Yeah. But there are people out there that we are learning from that know a lot more than we do.
Yes.
And we urge you to just to spend a few moments, I tell my friends, and I have friends that have they're on their path just like I am, that have not, gamer dudes, I grew up with being nerds, spent too much time on our keisters. But, they're out there, stretching, getting some workouts in, eating a lot cleaner. And, I tell them, hey, I do this while I'm gardening. I listen to this stuff while I'm gardening. I listen to this stuff while I'm working out, while I'm stretching in the morning, while I'm cooking.
Driving. People have long commutes.
Yep.
That's a great time to listen to a podcast because
Bran.
Because we're so used to driving, it requires so little focus.
Yeah, your routine. It's a what do you call it? There's a word for that, I forget.
Anyways, so that was
our spiel.
Introduction to health and nutrition through nutrition. Food is more than fuel.
Yeah, just trying to get out there. Just trying to, trying to get what you can done. in a reasonable way without stressing yourself out. Because you don't want to do it when it sounds stressful and overwhelming.
Right.
So just find two simple things.
It does make it more difficult to be successful if you're stressing yourself out over these things. Yep. Start small. Just make little incremental changes to your habits.
Cold turkey.
And you'll, before you know it, you'll find yourself where you want to be.
And when I say cold turkey, I mean like if I'm gonna, it's like a sugar thing, right? Like here's my cold turkey on my candy. So here's my cold. I'm not no more chips. Here's my bag of almonds.
Yep.
No soda. Here's my 5,000 cups of coffee. Just kidding, but no, I'm not.
If you're having tuna and you want something to scoop it up with,
good stuff. Yeah,
Nut Thins, I think they're called. They're made by Blue Diamond.
Yeah,
it's almond, Blue Diamond. It's an almond cracker.
Yeah, it is. Nothing. Yeah, Blue Diamond makes a lot of pricey but solid cracker type products, cookies. Find your wins. But anyway, there we go. There we go.
Thank you for listening. Do you have anything you want to plug personally?
Well, I already did one. Headbangers. If you want clean food.
Your stuff.
Oh, my
stuff that you want to plug.
Oh, for my stuff? No, not right now.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Go for it.
If you want to support me individually and not Barry, he's a jerk. I've got a horror channel, Horror in the Hills, where I talk about horror movies. I'm trying to leak more of this kind of talk into it.
Wow.
I've also got a gaming channel that has been on hiatus for far too long. I'm getting that up and running.
It was never any good. Sorry.
Check me out there. It's either Weird Cat Gaming or Roll to Live. I haven't decided yet.
How's Weird Cat spelled?
WYRD.
Thank you.
CAT.
Yep.
One word.
Yep. And you know what? I'm going to plug is you, people. Check out you, where you're at, and just, by golly,